Welcome. I'm so excited to bring you our guest today, Brian Petrone, a seasoned sports medicine clinician dedicated to helping patients recover, re-energize, and revitalize their health. So Brian is a physician's assistant who currently works alongside of Dr. Gill at Boston Orthopedics and Wellness, providing advanced therapies and innovative orthopedic treatments to support patients on their journey to optimal well-being. And I'll pause there to say, doesn't just support the patients themselves as they're going through sometimes what's required is surgery, right? Surgical intervention, but also the parents and the care team that is around that patient. He's also a licensed paramedic, an educator in the pre-hospital care, and brings a wealth of experience from his time as a PA for the New England Patriots, Boston Bruins, Red Sox, Boston Cannons. Outside of work, Brian is also a proud sports dad who knows firsthand the challenges and joys that youth sport and sport brings, both on and off the field. As his daughters, one is in college now, competing at very high level in lacrosse, and then two are set to go this fall. So this conversation, I'm so excited to bring it to you because one of the things that is just in the room as we're helping and supporting our young people on their path in sport is injury. And Brian brings inside of this conversation such a unique perspective, right? He is inside of the OR repairing ACLs and rotator cuffs at least twice a week, right? Hours on end. And through that process, one of the things that I really admire about Brian's work and Dr. Gill's work is their ability to honor the whole human and seeing that it's not just this need that they're working on, but there's a person who's experiencing this. And so I've had the fortune for the last, I want to say 6+ years of being a referral source when patients come to see Brian and they're getting set up for surgery. He is able to not just for providing patients my information, but also all these other supports, really like this incredible support system that he's able to share with patients and their families to say like, hey, listen, like this is really hard. And also we understand that's not just that we're going in and fixing your knee or your shoulder or whatever it is, that there's this whole process that goes along with this. And so I respect that tremendously and am honored and privileged to be part of the team of humans that he connects his clients and patients to. So without further ado, I really could go on and on, but this conversation is filled with nuggets when it comes to exploring questions around overuse and finding balance and what can we do to reduce likelihood of injury, etc. So I'll let you dive in. And if you have any questions, he's more than welcome for you to reach out to him directly. And I'm also happy to filter questions and pass them his way. So, all right, until next time, let's do this. All right. Welcome, Brian. I am so grateful to be able to connect with you. I actually would have to trace back how long we've been in touch, like via phone, but having this opportunity to sit with you and have a conversation with you. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to have you.
Yeah. So we'll kick it off by asking about you a little bit. So what your cultural upbringing and background was and kind of the relationship to sport for you in your own life growing up.
Yeah, great question. So, I played sports, organized youth baseball like everybody did, and soccer, and then growing up in lacrosse and playing lacrosse in high school and football. Then played club lacrosse in college. And then after that, it was more kind of like an old man's lacrosse league, trying to still hang on to those days of glory, battering through injuries and also kind of getting through life and trying to still, hold on to those past days when everybody played and had fun. And then kind of matriculating into sports medicine. I worked as a paramedic for many years and started going back to school and understanding physician assistant programs, and then got into the physician assistant program. I went probably back down in 2000, went to PA school, started working in different medical areas, and then found myself into sports medicine. Worked with Dr. Tom Gill starting in about 2009, and has been fantastic since then. Been with Dr. Gill since that time, doing sports medicine. We worked with New England Patriots for many years, the Boston Bruins, Boston Red Sox, Boston Cannons. And then now we work with many high school athlete and college programs and collegiate kids. And really, it's from anywhere from the youth kids into middle school, all the way up to weekend warriors. And I still have a lot of, older people that come to me and say, I'm still engaged in my sport. And I'm like, what is it? It's pickleball. And it's okay, great. How old are you? 75. I'm 80. I'm like, perfect. We're going to treat you like you were back when you were in high school. So, sports medicine has been fantastic. It's really encompasses all ages, from the kids to the collegiate to the pros, all the way up to adults and beyond. And it's been amazing. And, the ability to formulate relationships with yourself, and you've been amazing helping more than our athletes, only myself as well, and understanding a lot about the industry that you're in and mental awareness and how it impacts our athletes. You have a great bio. I love it. I tell everybody about it, which is fantastic. And everything that you've done, I always revert back to your stories about what the situation you went through and everything that you've overcome. And I appreciate all your help that you've given our athletes. So that's where I've kind of come and continue to go. Yeah.
I'm so grateful. So grateful. So much inside of that. So you started playing all the sports. Did you know you wanted to go into sports medicine when you were growing up? Were you drawn to it or kind of found your way there?
So so interesting story is, I went to college and, wasn't the best student in the world. So started taking classes and somebody said, hey, listen, why don't you take an EMT class? It'd be great to boost your credits. And I fell in love with it. And I said, this is amazing. I can help people. I feel good about helping people. You're doing something to change some people's lives. And you're in a situation where many people don't have the tools that you have. And I really enjoyed it. And then from there, I went to paramedic school. And then from paramedic school, I worked as a firefighter. I worked for Boston Medflight for a while. And working in that environment, which was very stressful but rewarding, then I found that many medical providers in my kind of area were then going off to PA school or medical school. I found that PAs work right in line with a lot of the doctors that they work with, doing the same thing that doctors do. And I said, what a great opportunity. I can still help people, still do things, do more than what I'm doing now. And, I said, I can do many things. I first got into cardiothoracic surgery, then I got into emergency medicine, and then got into orthopedics and sports medicine. And I said, wow, sports medicine, this is right down my alley. I have kids going into sports. I enjoy sports. I watch sports. I love doing everything surrounding it. So, then I started really diving into how can I help patients, injury to recovery, to back on the field, and then everything that surrounds that. And there's so many facets that, kind of peel off of sports medicine, whether it's mental health, nutrition, return to play. So there's a lot that goes into it. And, I still every day engaged in these young athletes and the kids and what they're doing and how to get them better. And, what we did 15 years ago and what they're doing now. And it's amazing. It's a lot of fun. And I really engage with the kids. I have kids myself in sports, playing high school sports, playing collegiate sports, and all their friends. And I always talk to kids about, what are you doing? How can we get you better? And what are your workouts? And what's your nutrition? What's your mental health? What's your recovery? And it's an amazing thing to really talk to these kids about it. Not only do the kids get excited to talk about it, but the parents, and I can see in the side of the room that they sit up in their chair and they're like, so what's the workout? And they get interested and they start maybe asking questions. And by the end of the conversation or time that they're with me, the parents are like, so do you have a parents program that I could get into? Or and and they really get excited about it. I said, well, let's talk. Let's worry about your son or daughter now, but we'll talk. And they're, okay, here's my number. Let's chat later. And the parents get excited about it. So it's great to talk about with parents and kids. It's encompasses everybody, whether they're playing high level collegiate sports, high school sports, or they're weekend warriors, or, they're dancing, or they're doing, other activities, pickleball or golf or whatever it may be. It's everything. And it's a lot of fun to work with these kids and adults as well. Really is.
I love that. Well, and you see, one of the things that strikes me as so important, and maybe it's not as unique as I think, but I do feel like it is unique in this honoring the whole human. Like, you see the person and the human and the different components and the factors that all like work together, like this puzzle piece, but the puzzle pieces that come together to support them, like them as humans and on their healing journey. So when we think about your work, though, like, paint the picture of what the day-to-day, tell us about your field, because I know I think you shared how many times you're in the OR a year, which we can get into that kind of like what do we need to know as parents? Like, you're kind of extracting wisdom from your experience too, but just paint the picture of what your day-to-day looks like.
So we're typically in the OR, whether it's myself or other PAs in my field, usually a couple days a week. I'm in the operating room 3 days a week. So it's usually Dr. Gill and I in the operating room. And, we may have, 3 surgical cases, 8 surgical cases, and it's anywhere between, somebody repairing an Achilles tendon that they injured, typical ACL reconstructions from young athletes, or shoulder injuries from older patients or younger patients. That's about 3 days a week that we're in the operating room. And that's pretty much, a full day for us. And then we do see patients about 2 to 3 days a week. And we see them in our clinic, in our office, and we typically see anywhere from 25 to 30 patients for each of us. It's a busy clinic. It's very quick, but concise. We try to give every patient ample time to understand, their concerns, their questions, give them a plan, and also decide what the next step is for them. I'd love to spend an hour with each patient and talk about where they went, what they're doing, what their plans are, but sometimes it's difficult to narrow that down into 15 minutes for a patient, or 20 minutes for a patient. But it's a busy week for sure. Then it's typical phone calls. I am constantly on the phone, maybe to a fault. So I'm on a field somewhere and I'm getting a phone call, and and I'll always tell parents, and I give my phone number out. I say, hey, listen, just give me a call. Let's talk. And they say, I don't want to disturb you. I said, it's okay. And they call me and say, sounds like you're on a field. And it sounds like you're on a field. Yeah, my daughter just got injured. Well, let's talk about it. So, and I'll tell you, it's amazing that in medicine itself, it's hard enough to go to a doctor's office and discuss with that physician and say, hey, listen, I have a problem. What do I do next, right? You have 15, 20 minutes with them. They send you for laboratory results. They send you for treatment, say, well, we're going to do this, and that. Here's your plan. And we'll get back to you, or let's do a follow-up in 3 months. And then a lot of times you're left hanging. You don't know, you get your MRI, you get your lab results, you get your blood work, whatever it is, and now you have to wait a while. I found over the years that for me, it's a little frustrating to me, because I want to know the answers, right? I want to know what's going on with, my knee or my shoulder or my body, right? So I want to talk to parents, want to know the answers. They've invested a lot of time and a lot of money in these kids, and they want to know, what's going, what do I do next, right? Give me a little information, give me a little insight. The majority of the population don't have a medical background. So if I can give them a little insight of, say, okay, well, I think this is what it is, and here's our next steps. We're going to start physical therapy. We're going to go, talk to our staff. We're going to get you an x-ray. We're going to get you an MRI. Here's our plan. We're going to set you up for physical therapy. Okay. So parents appreciate that. They're like, okay, I have a plan. And I think that's very helpful for parents to understand they have a plan. The kids, they don't know what's going on. They're just frustrated that they're injured and they can't play and be on the field. And I really like to have, parents know that information. So I'll answer phone calls, I'll answer questions, I'll talk to them, put a plan together, I'll text back and forth with parents. And it's helpful. And I think that has grown our kind of industry, within our clinic and our department, outside others, that we're reachable, we're able to contact people, people can contact us. And it's helpful because Dr. Gill has athletes, and his 3 kids went through college sports, and my kids have gone through college and high school sports. So we get it, and we understand where parents need to be and want to be at. So it's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's so powerful when you think about kind of in the ways that we link, the ways that we connect, and how like, it's just, I feel like it's a pillar of support that I'm able to help for those that are interested, right? When you're able to share, hey, here's this resource in this way of like this huge thing just happened. Cause it's like the injury is so incredibly hard because it's painful, because there's so much unknown, because your world just got turned upside down, because we don't know what's next. And then it's just this we can't have certainty. And I don't think either of us, right, can provide certainty. But what we can do is what you're talking about is provide clarity, and you provide that. And that's such an important piece. And from a parent perspective, that's such an emotional time too.
Yeah.
Like the stress level is so high. Your child's in pain, and when our kids hurt, we hurt. So the fact that you're able to be a resource in that way is so incredibly important. And yeah, the limitations and frustrations with the system, that could be its own podcast. We could talk about that.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But the idea of, so the paying attention, relating as a sports dad, bringing the humanity to the work that you do, seeing them as whole humans, and seeing that it's not just, let's say, their knee or their shoulder, but it's this human being's life that's just been kind of put on this pivot path. And there's so much that goes with that. Yeah. So if you could speak to just what your, we can go in any direction, but there's so much that your insight, your day-to-day, your wisdom, being in this field now for 25 years, seeing the shifts even in our culture, like what are you noticing? Like what is, and you can take that and run with that in whatever direction you feel pulled to.
25 years ago or 20 years ago, there weren't many club teams or club programs. I mean, I can't remember ever being really involved in club programs. There was town baseball, town soccer, lacrosse, whatever it may be. And now, there's a club for every kid. There's lacrosse, there's soccer, baseball, hockey, if you want to be able to get the edge, then you need to be in a club program. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And there's a lot of resources, and the coaches are fantastic, and the faculty that they have is amazing, and all the other things that they do within these club programs are great. But it also there's a lot of competition. So for these kids to be able to go to the next level and play beyond high school, many of these kids have to play a club program. Coaches are looking in college for these kids to play club program. They want to see these kids really excel their sport, or excel their activity, or excel their skill, to be able to produce for them when they're on the field. And that comes with playing club programs. So I've seen the addition of many club programs, and a lot of time, and I've done it for myself, and I've traveled down to Baltimore and Philly and Virginia and Dallas and Florida, everywhere, and all the parents have, and it's very busy for parents, and it's a different lifestyle. I mean, I talked to many parents, and I said, they ask me now, I can say, what are you doing for this summer? I said, well, we're traveling, we get a little vacation time, we're easy this summer. And I said, oh boy, that's great. And I asked, what are you doing? I said, well, I got to go to Philly, and then from Philly to Baltimore, back to New Jersey, then to New York, and then to here. And I'm like, are you staying in a camper? No, we have hotels, we have a map, and so it's a lot for parents, it's a lot for kids. And I've seen, not only has that been difficult to manage, it's also, the mental piece of it. It's also the medical side of things. I've seen more injuries over the past couple of years than I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
I'm so curious. I'm
Yeah,
curious there.
it's been over.
So that just speak to that. What I'm curious what you've seen around like what
Yeah.
in the last because of that increase in clubs and the increase in playing, like what have you seen? Talk to us, and just no need to sugarcoat either. Talk to us straight. Like we need to
Yeah.
hear this information, I think, as parents.
Well, I think most parents will, there's two different ways, right? Parents will ask a lot about, why are there more ACL injuries? Why are there more knee injuries? I think it's the addition of more turf fields, right? So a lot more turf fields. People are playing on more turf fields than they are on grass. Turf fields are more chronically geared towards the ability to play more time on there. If it rains, you want to play on turf because you can, games don't get canceled. However, for injuries, there are more injuries for knee injuries because, kids will twist their knee, twist their ankle because their knee or their foot gets stuck on turf more than it would be on grass. So I think we're seeing more injuries on turf. I think that with turf fields, now I'm not going to change it, and I don't think you'll ever change that. So how do you manage these kids from preventing more? A lot of it comes down to injury prevention. And the addition of these sport programs or these centers that now have sports training have been fantastic. They're doing a great job. They're teaching these kids how to run, how to jump, how to cut, turn, pivot, how to get stronger. These kids never had the ability to go out and work out. They would learn from a coach down the street, or they would learn from their coach and say, hey, here's our summer program. They write on some notes and say, go do this. Now these kids are involved with all these big programs that are located throughout Massachusetts that they can go to every day. They can go to 3 days a week. They can work on their jumping, their cutting, pivoting, turning, all their fundamental mechanics to get them stronger, which I think is great.
Yeah.
However, with that, these kids are getting stronger. They're able to do more. Now you're adding more games, more practices, right? And then you're seeing that a lot of overuse injuries. So these kids are playing 3 games in a day, 4 games in a day. They have one day off, then they have a practice, then they have to go to another tournament and then another tournament. So these kids are really, if they're sore in their hamstring, well, if you send a kid out and they're sore in their hamstring, they're performing at 80%, something else is going to give, right? Or they have, an injury to an ankle. Well, something else is going to give. So I think that, it's unfortunate because you have to, these parents are signing the kids up for more and more tournaments or showcases that you have to get in front of coaches, but you have to manage the recovery well. And I think that piece has not been there yet. And I think that piece is still going to come into fruition over the next couple of years. So recovery is a huge piece of it. You see these recovery centers that are, whether it's a cold plunge and you're doing, spas, or you're doing red light therapy, to do massage therapy, doing acupuncture. And there's a lot of places, and they're doing a great job. However, it's only probably about a couple % of each kid or, adults that do that. It's cost. It's a lot of money to pay for that. And it's time, right? So if you have a tournament and then you have another tournament, are you going to go, to your recovery session and, one day if you're down in New Jersey? No. All you're going to do is you're going to sit in your bedroom or your hotel room and you're just going to recover. Maybe you'll do some stretching, a foam roller, and that's about it. You're not going to do a lot. So it's hard for kids to manage that piece of it. And when kids come into the office and they, parents always ask, well, how do I get them better? How do I recover them? How do I make, the biggest question always is, how do I prevent them from getting an injury? Well, I can't tell you 100% that the kid's not going to get an injury. It comes down to genetics. It comes down to body habitus. It comes down to the amount they're playing, what they're doing, what their strength and condition is, what they're doing for recovery. Are they going 4 or 5 days a week in a row? Are they taking a break off? What are they doing? So it's very difficult for kids to kind of understand that, because on a day off, what does a kid want to do? They want to go to Chipotle and hang out with their friends. They don't want to go and do recovery. They don't want to go and sit in a cold tub or a hot tub or go get a massage. So they just want to go and do their own thing. Their recovery is hanging out with their friends or watching, their phones all day. So I think that's a difficult piece to manage for kids. I think adults are getting it, but I don't think kids are understanding it yet. Yeah.
Yeah. And well, you're bringing up, okay, so there's so much gold here.
Yeah.
So if I'm hearing you, what you're mirroring is like the turf is a factor, right? How much we're playing, and then the club level of like to get to the next level, playing more, playing multiple games, right? And then this space of getting stronger, which is great, and also comes with this like I'm stronger now, so I can do more things.
Yeah.
And so it's sounding like what I'm hearing you say is one of the ways that we can, as parents, guiding this and a piece of this space and in this kind of podcast space is having parents think about like, what are your core values, right? What is your North Star, to kind of reorient and go, okay, hold on, let me just catch my breath here. Where are the pockets actually for recovery? And in that space, what does intentional recovery look like? And what could we be doing? So zooming out to say, how does a parent know? And there might not be one right answer. I can't imagine that there is, but how do you know when too much is too much? Like what are the kind of guideposts based on maybe even what you did with your own kids,
Sure,
right? As you've been raising them, like you're fully in this too, of what helps, like what can we do, not to prevent, but to maybe reduce the likelihood and give the best possible chance for like a successful experience of flourishing and staying healthy. Like what are some things that we as parents can do and be mindful of?
Well, at the least, so with my kids, I have one daughter, she plays collegiate sports. I have two kids going into collegiate sports, and all throughout their youth career, starting in youth, what do? Kids get out of the car, parents drive up to the field, or they drive up to the pool and they say, okay, get out. You have an hour, and the kids stretch for maybe 3 minutes. They're talking and waving to their friends, and then they start playing. It's not, and then afterwards the kids get out, they're done, and they run to the car, and parents are like, let's go, I have to go pick up so and so, we need to get moving. So there's not a lot of preventative stretching or activity beforehand, and there's nothing afterwards. So that's one piece of that. But that also comes not with parents, but with coaches, right? So coaches have to understand that a little bit, that preventative medicine. And that's hard too, because I understand, I coached, and you have so much time and you want to fit in so much. And if a lot of this is taken up by stretching or doing activities beforehand, well, that's eating into your time to have the kids get ready for a game. However, I think, and I've spoken, I have many other physical therapists that have spoken on that, and that's one piece of it. So if you take that out and you say, okay, well, as a parent, I want to help my child maybe understand that if a coach may not do that or be involved as much as they are, and this likely more in high school, then we're going to have to start imploring you to maybe doing some stuff at home. So physical therapists are a great asset. I love physical therapy. I think they do a great job. These trainers that are at their center, they do a great job. Parents should tap into them and say, just don't drop your child off at the center or drop them off at physical therapy. Get involved with a little bit. Ask the physical therapist, ask the athletic trainer at the centers, say, hey, do you have a couple exercise or activities that they can do at home that they can get ready? Or do you have a small program, 5-10 minutes, that they can do before their game, before their practice, to kind of get them ready? And what would you recommend they do afterwards? And what would you recommend they do on their day off, right? As you get older and these kids start to get involved, they're looking at collegiate play, they're higher level athletes. They're being asked to do more. They're asked to more practicing, more games, more time doing whatever that sport is. So their recovery is going to have to be a little bit more. So I always tell kids, I'm like, your day off is not your day off. Your day off is not Sunday to wake up and and watch your phone all day and then go and relax all day with your friends. Maybe you need to take an hour. If you're a junior, senior, you're in college and you're an athlete, it's going to have to be something to help you recover on that Sunday. Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's a stretch, maybe it's, you go to a sauna, maybe you do a cold plunge, hot plunge, whatever it may be. And it's difficult to try to put that towards parents and kids. But when they get injured, they're like, I wish somebody told me. I wish somebody gave me that advice.
Yeah, yeah.
And, and you want to step back and and it's hard too, because and I tell kids and I tell parents, I said, listen, what's your goal? You want to be healthy. You want to be on the field. You have plenty of kids that are injured. You have plenty of kids that are not playing. You don't want to be that kid. And I'm not saying that there's a foolproof method to send these kids to these programs, but it's hard, to put that forward to kids, to say, or parents to say, your day off is not your day off. Your day off is, try to do something to help you if this is your goal. If you're looking at trying to get recruited, you have a lot of work ahead of you. Physically and mentally. Yes, you're not playing your sport all day long. These kids maybe play an hour of practice, 2 hours of practice. Their workouts are an hour, 2 hours. They get up at 10 o'clock, whatever it may be, which is early for a lot of kids, and they're up till 10 midnight or later. I'm like, you have a long time to do something. Yes, if your kids are working, which is great, they could do that. This is part of your job. Your job is to help yourself so you can do what you really enjoy. And that's a big part of it. And
you're speaking to this proactive piece, which is like first there's overlap between the recovery and the mental health piece, and there's direct connection there. And this idea of in this lane of, paying attention, let's say, with intention to building mental skills. Like we want them right before we're ready to compete because we're feeling nervous, but it's actually the proactive, dripping and the compound effect of these small steps that we're taking to build the skills so that when we need it, it's there. And in the same way, so we're making the case for the same kinds of things of proactive action and understanding the importance of that when there's not like a huge drastic shift. But this idea of, okay, so on the days that they're off, thinking of the human body and all of the systems and how can we nurture it and nourish it so that we're putting ourselves, and even before we step on the field, putting ourselves in a position where we're taking care of it so that we reduce the likelihood of something happening. Yeah. It's this so very similar in this mental pillar space of getting buy-in to drop in and do mindfulness meditations and do tapping exercises and get outside and ground and all of those things. And I think there's overlap when we talk about recovery, like the things that you could be doing to work on the mind-body connection are actually recovery modalities too, right? Because we're talking about this nervous system and the body coming down out of a sympathetic state chronically and into this rest and digest ability to repair, which is really where the gains are made. When we talk about, so this is that, I love this. This is fascinating. So I'm thinking in terms of empowering parents, like what are the things that we can do? Well, we can't control our kids. However, we can like lean in what you're saying, lean in and learn. And then maybe even ask them like, well, what's your plan here and strategy? Like, what are your thoughts about this when you're getting ready to warm up, or just generating conversation around getting them to understand the why behind it so that they feel like, oh, it's not just you telling me to do this, because there's going to be resistance there, but it's this idea of like, oh, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I should try that. How did your kids buy in when you suggested these things?
Well, it's funny, you say that because I'll have a lot of parents call me up and say, hey, listen, my son or daughter, we're coming in tomorrow. Don't say that I said this, but can you just mention about them doing their workout or doing them, their stretching or their activity beforehand? And then I'll also have parents, say that in a clinic, sitting in a room, let's say, can you just talk to so-and-so about doing preventive maintenance, like we talked about how to, they're stretching or maybe getting on a bike on a day off, and the kids will look at the parent like, why are you saying that? I do that, and it's a little contentious in there. But for my own child, they were a little resistant when they were younger, going through high school.
Yeah.
But now, and they still, I'll say something to them. I'll say, well, we need to do this, and this is why you get an injury. And, a couple of my kids will say, well, I don't know about that. And I look at them like, do you know what I do, right? And they just kind of laugh at me and say, yeah, well, that's fine.
But you're dad, so
you don't know any better. Yeah.
You can't. Yep.
Now
You're
that,
dad.
now that I have one in
okay.
college, I have two
That's
going
okay.
into college to play sports. The one in college now, she's like, yeah, I see that. And it's like, yeah, we have pre-workouts and we have recovery, and we have after every game, they're stretching and they're doing activity. They're like, yeah, I know, I get it. This is important. On their Sundays, their day off, they're in the locker room, and they have their textbooks, and they have their Normatex on, and they have their active recovery, boots working, and they're getting massage therapy, they're getting acupuncture, they're doing all this stuff. And then now they see it, they're like, oh yeah, now I get it. And it's great. I'm glad they see that, and which is fantastic. But with that, and I do see probably many other kids and parents, they see it after an injury, right? They're like, oh, well, yeah, that's important. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because it takes an injury for many of these kids, whether it's small or it's a larger injury, to see what they now have to do to change their ways, to stay on the field, to stay active, to stay busy. And it takes a bit. And it's unfortunate. And I never want to see anybody get injured. But some of these kids are better athletes after their injury, after their surgery. And I tell them.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes. I would love to explore that space with you. And from a place of like, if you're, so speaking to a parent who may be like, okay, like this proactive stuff's great, but also like we're dealing with an injury now. Like, okay, so now what? So and I've learned so much from walking alongside of the athletes that we have, we share, we don't share them, these humans that we get to work with, about the different kind of phases of recovery. Yeah. And the different things that come up in each of those phases. But what would you say, like, so the injuries happen and it's like, okay, so now what? And that what you just led with was this possibility that I could actually come out stronger. And I've seen that time and time and time again. And it's hard and it requires work, but that is a possibility. So so take us there where a parent and our child has just navigated this space, now what? What do we do?
So I'll give you, a great example. I'm in
California.
So I'll give you a great example. I get phone calls every day about, my child is injured. They're injured their knee. They're down in Philadelphia. They're at a tournament. They're at a showcase, and they injured their knee. The trainers were there. They may think it's an ACL. The kid heard pop, and everybody's devastated, right? To the coach, to the kid, to the parent. Yeah. So, I get on the phone, usually with the parent, not the child. Child's off with their team, and the parents are in a car. They have their head against the window. They're devastated. They don't know what to do. And I try to comfort them and say, listen, I have the answers for your questions. We have the recipe for this. We understand. We know what you're going through. We know how to deal with it. We're going to walk you through every step of this. The parents are more devastated at that time than the child is. They're not only taking on their own emotion, they're taking on the emotion of their kid, which is rightfully so. They've helped this child through every practice, through every, after school program. They brought them to the programs to get them stronger, to get them faster, to drive them all over their place. And they see their potential. And now they're like, this is devastating. But they also understand what's on the horizon. Like they may not be able to play, or they're going to be impacted by, they can't play the next season. They can't play, go to the recruiting tournaments, or that's going to impact their college. And I understand that for many patients, and also for many parents, I understand it. And you have to, there's a variety of those parents. There's the parents that sit there and like, my kid's not going to get recruited. You don't understand. Sports is not there's a big basket, right? There's life, there's academics, there's friends, there's social. So it's an area that is a lot of emphasis for some parents. And those parents, it's their world and it's their life, which I understand. And I try to understand that for some parents, and I kind of walk that line, easily, and understand the parents where they're going and how what they're going through. So with that, I talk to the parents and I say, listen, this is as devastating for you as it is for your child. And I understand that. And the parents go, oh, yes, thank you. Yeah, this is really tough. And I say, okay, our next step is, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, go through our emotions. We're going to get our imaging. We're going to get into PT. If I have a diagnosis that the child has torn their ACL, I always tell the parents, I say, listen, your child is not going to like you. They're not going to like me. They're not going to like their teammates, their coaches, their friends. Give them 48 hours to grieve this. They're going to be mad at everybody. Yeah. Let them be mad. Let them be mad at the world. Leave them alone. Don't tell them it's going to be okay. Don't tell them we're going to take care of it. Just let them do their thing. And that's it. And just let them grieve. If they want to go, hang out with some friends and do their thing, let them go do it. It's okay. They need that. And, we talked about this before. It's like, you got to let these kids kind of breathe a little bit and let them go through that. They just saw their entire world crash in front of them. And, being a parent, and me too, is, I've seen it with my own kids, like, okay, I understand. I get it. Leave me alone, and so I tell the parents, just leave me alone. We're going to get it. And then I'll be the one, or Dr. Gill be the one to say, okay, we have a plan for you. We know what to do. We're going to help you. And then that's what we get them. We say, okay, we're going to work through it. Now you have work to do. I'm going to give you 48 hours off. But then after that, you got to go to work. You're doing your physical therapy. You're doing your strengthening. You're doing your exercise at home. Kids always come in. They want to know 2 questions from me. When can I have surgery? And when can I play again? That's it. That's all they want to know. Everything in between is irrelevant. Yeah. But the parents are like, okay, so when surgery? When's PT? When can they run again? When can they get their brace? When can they do this? So, and I talk to parents usually offline or with the child as well. And one of those things that I always tell these kids, I said, listen, you're going to do physical therapy a week after. You're going to do it the day after. You're going to do running at 3 months. You're going to start getting your brace and doing all your activities at 5 months, 6 months. You're going to work out every day. You're going to do upper body. You're going to do lower body. You have never worked so diligent physically and mentally than you ever did before. You haven't, I tell kids, I'm like, the mental piece of it with you, which is amazing. None of these kids understand the mental piece of it. They just look at a field like, I just need to run faster. Okay, well, you need to run faster, but what's going to get you over that hump? How do you get your mind ready so you can go do it? You're out there, you're thinking about your knee. You're thinking about when you were on the field 6 months ago, when you pivoted and tore your knee. Yeah. You need to get away from that. How do we do that? How do we build you up and get this away from your knee? And that's, all these pillars kind of work together. And I tell kids, I said, you're actually going to be stronger physically and mentally when you get back playing. You're going to be able to do what you never did before. And the kids look at me like, what? And I'm like,
and that,
yeah.
Yeah, no, and it's hard to believe at that time, right? And also, I love so much in there. You allow the space for the parents to feel what they're feeling, and just acknowledging the pain's real for them too, and then giving permission for the kids to have this this is a massive stressor, and not only is the knee or the shoulder inflamed, but it also the brain is too, right? There's this inflammation happening, and it's not just localized, right? So they're going to experience all kinds of emotions, and letting that be without trying to jump in, which is so hard for us as parents, and fix it. And that sense of lack of control, which is part of real life, anchoring into, okay, what is the plan? What can I control? And what I've seen in being able to walk alongside of athletes in this journey with you, coming out of even some of that I've started before they've had surgery with you and Dr. Gill, it's on the front end, allowing that. So there's just this massive kind of opportunity to teach them about their human body in a way
Right.
that they've never learned before, the mind-body connection, and then being able to use and develop the skill set that can then easily transfer right to the field, right? So like they're building the skill set
Mm-hmm.
and taking charge of what they can control while they're physically limited
Yep.
in the ways that they're, used to being able to go play. And then as they kind of step into the next phase, it's like this really incredible fusion of, there's not just the physical strength gains that they're making with intention and the
Mm-hmm.
mental gains, but there's also a deeper emotional, like, I really know why I love this now. Like it was taken
Yeah.
from me and I know why I'm playing. I know
Mm-hmm.
why I love this game. And that kind of inner drive to come back and play.
Yeah.
And then you speak to the fear piece, the body keeps score, right? Like they experienced a trauma with the injury,
Yeah.
and being able to process that and move some of that through is a really important part of it too, and help them
Absolutely.
realize like, oh, like it's just my human body. Like this makes sense. Yeah. Let you respond to that if you have anything to share there.
So, for us and working in medicine, working in physical therapy, we're doing what we know and how to take care of a knee, how to take care of a shoulder. If somebody comes into us and said, oh, I have clicking in my knee. Oh, okay, well, this is what it's going on. I have pain in the front. Okay, this is what's going on. We can treat that. We can manage it. What I don't know, and what typically many times that we struggle with, is parents ask, like, it seems like they're not getting over the hump. They're having a little difficult time kind of engaging. They're having difficult time. And it's the mind. It's the mental piece of this where you can't see it. You can't put your hands on it. You can't feel it. You don't know what these kids, and that's a big part of where these kids need to get back. I get so many questions from parents and asking me, it doesn't seem like they're ready, or I'm struggling a little bit, or, how do I know when I'm ready to get back on the field? I can tell them, oh, it's when you pass your strength test or your hop test, or we can quantify, what you need to do to get back on the field. But when this isn't ready, then you're not ready. Those two pieces have to match up, and they have to come on the same road back to the field. And that's what and parents ask me all the time. I said, oh, I know somebody who can help you. She's great. Her name is Samantha. Here's her number. I don't have those answers, but she does. And together we're going to make this work. And and parents are like, they're enlightened, because there's not, there's many parents that can Google the information of, okay, well, you can get stronger. Maybe you need to do the stretch. Maybe you need to do this recovery. But there's not a lot of information out there for the mental capacity or mental piece of it. And I can tell you that every kid struggles, and every kid has, whether it's one day or it's 6 to 9 months of a mental disparity of these kids of getting back. Am I ready? Am I going to get back on the field? Am I going to be able to play like I did before? How do I do it? And to that point, it's not only injuries too. And you and I have spoke in depth about this. It has to do with many, kids and many difficulties that they've had, and, whether they feel that they're not strong enough, they're not fast enough. The coach doesn't feel that I have what it takes to get me on the field to do this. I had an injury 2 years ago. They still think I'm injured. How do I get over that? And it's a very big piece. And there's no coach is going to sit down and say, oh, I have the mental fortitude to figure this out for you. They don't. Yes, there are many coaches that
I think
will work with
you're speaking to.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that you're speaking to too, and I don't know if I've ever shared with you that my husband's he's sports performance, he's strength and conditioning, right? And so the field, and like he got his master's strength and conditioning award probably 3 or 4 years ago, and they were talking about the history of it, and it really is like similar, like 2000, like before that was just football, but this kind of this pillar of, okay, like we're going to strengthen the physical body, and my hope is that similarly, like there'll be this new pillar that's just as common as gyms and the strength and conditioning centers, with people that are actually qualified and trained to be able to help. So you're speaking to, I'm even looking, so the scales behind me, it's something that I use through the nonprofit Same Here Global, and this is nervous system based. And so sometimes the parents, it's like, we know that injury is a risk factor for navigating what we call sinking, right? This space of where we get into this depressive lows and the nervous system is shutting down because the accumulation
Yeah.
of stress
Yep.
for so long. And so sometimes it's like, how do I navigate that, right? As a parent, like not only they can't play their sport, that was their outlet, that was their coping, that was their joy
Mm-hmm.
and connection and all those things. And so by being able to bring in language, I so appreciate your willingness to connect the humans you get to work with and help connecting them to resources.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to share. And I know you're working in the role of PA and also starting this new venture. So I would love for you to talk about the why, that like what drove you. I think we're kind of telling the story as we go, but like what's the
Mm-hmm.
driver there and what you're doing in addition to the work you're doing in the OR and with patients.
Yeah. So, started to understand a little bit more over the past couple of years about, people asking, how do I get better? How do I, yes, I'm going to have surgery on my knee or my shoulder, or my ankle is going to get better, by getting the physical therapy. Are there other treatments out there that can help me get better a little bit, faster or a little bit better? So I feel better going into my next game, or I feel better in 6 months. And it's been the landscape of regenerative medicine. And regenerative medicine has been out there for a long time. It's just a little untapped with many providers, in our clinics, in our operating rooms. Certain doctors have got into it a little bit, and I started doing a lot of research over the past couple of years into learning more about regenerative medicine and how that can help our patients get better. And whether it's doing everything from structural tissues to stem cells to PRP injections to peptide therapy, and it's not for everybody. There are some athletes can't take because of US ADA regulations, NCAA regulations, Olympic regulations. So it's difficult, but we understand that, and we kind of move through that space cautiously. However, I started this new, alongside with Dr. Gill, new kind of venture called it's called Boston Orthopedics and Wellness. So it's a new program that we started to kind of help our patients and help our athletes get a little bit better, not only with their surgical procedures or their injuries, but work with regenerative medicine techniques that we've learned and work and have done in research to get them better. And we've had great response from many of our athletes, and people have found that it's very helpful. And also our goal to parallel that is also the recovery medicine along with that. So there's a lot of other people that are doing the recovery medicine, and we basically want to kind of marry those two together and work with our patients, not only give them education, but also provide them with the tools, provide them with the access to this regenerative medicine and to the recovery medicine part of it, because we do see it. And, my own patients see it, my own children see it, and it's extremely beneficial to have that for these people. And not only the athletes, but I see it with the adults. I see it with the myself. You can play.
I'm thinking of my dad, Brian.
Yeah, you can sit there and play 3-4 days of golf, right?
He really needs to. Yes.
I mean, how many? I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of patients that are golfers, and they'll come and say, I can play 2 days of golf, and the third day is terrible. Well, your 3-day member guest is not going to work out next year, so let's get you better, Or I have people that say, well, I play pickleball, on Thursdays and Fridays, and then we get together on Sunday mornings. How do I get myself better? And, part of this is in line with these younger kids. And I say, well, a lot of the stuff that we're going to do is we're going to do for you too. And it's physically and it's mentally, it's understanding like, hey, maybe we don't go 4 days in a row. Maybe we do something else. Maybe we're going to get on a bike and do, another activity. So that kind of launched, me into this different arena, and to start offering these other, things to patients that I can really benefit them.
What's the difference between the regenerative words a mouthful for me, and then recovery? medicine. So what's the difference between those two for the layperson that doesn't
Sure.
know?
So regenerative medicine is actually more kind of like a biologics. So those are going to be things that we can give somebody or treatments that we can provide for people. So certain regenerative medicine techniques are stem cell techniques that you can actually remove your own stem cells from your body and from your bone and actually give them back into an area of injury. So somebody has an Achilles injury, somebody has an injury to their knee or their shoulder. It's going to help that quicker and help them get better faster. Normally people with injuries, whether they injure their shoulder or their knee, what do? You're taking your Motrin for 5 days. You're stretching. Some people, if it doesn't work after a couple weeks, they'll come get a cortisone injection. Well, all those things are not helping. You would think that they would help. You're like, it's got to help. The Motrin's got to help. It's going to make it better. It's going to help it heal. The cortisone injection is going to help it heal. Those are actually just stopping the inflammation from happening. Our goal as providers with regenerative medicine is to help the healing powers of your body to get better. So whether it's stem cell injections, whether it's a PRP is a platelet-rich plasma to take your own blood and spin it down in a centrifuge and then inject the platelets that help the healing back into that area. Peptide therapy. So peptide therapy has been widely used over the past several years, orally or injectable peptides. And those have greatly helped many of our athletes. So all these different techniques are really kind of regenerative medicine or more kind of like biologics or injection medicines, oral medicines, things that people can take to kind of help their healing process to get stronger, to recover back from their injury. The recovery side is more kind of like what we spoke about before. So it's working with a clinician.
Sorry, I'm going to ask a question about, so it's working with the body or working with the body versus like managing symptoms. So I think of like, the ibuprofen and the cortisol. Is that accurate? Or would you change that? I'm trying to better understand it feels like you get to the root. Yeah. How would you edit that?
So if you think about, I would guess to say, people that take Tylenol, Motrin, ibuprofen, Advil, that's a reaction. You're trying to take care of a problem that happened. Cortisone injections, you're trying to take care of the inflammation that happened and you're trying to curb that inflammation. That injury is still there, and your hopes are that you take away that inflammation, that injury is going to get better over time, right? So I'll give you a quick example of stem cells. So at the age of 10, you have 4 million stem cells in your body. At the age of 30, you have 32,000 stem cells in your body. At the age of 50, you have 3,200 stem cells in your body. Okay, so stem cells are the chameleons of your body, and what they do is they help you heal, right? So if you're in your 60s, you get a little cut because you fell down on your pickleball court, it's going to take you 3 weeks of Neosporin, Band-Aids, and watching that closely to heal, and that may never heal. You're 6 years old, and you get a scrape. 2 days later, where did it go, right? So everyone's looking for the healing powers of how do you heal faster from an injury, right? They don't want to stop what they're doing. They feel the youth. They feel, I feel great playing golf. I feel great playing pickleball. I want to go for a run. I want to go for a bike ride. I want to hike. I want to walk. But I get injured or something happened. But mentally, I need to go for that bike ride. I need to go for the run. I need to play pickleball. Right? How many people said, I go crazy if I'm not on the golf course, at least once a week. I need to get out and do my workout. I need to go to my spin class. I need yoga. So how can I get better? Just get me better quicker. And that has been the nuance of regenerative medicine, of doing certain stem cells or structural tissues, PRP injections, peptide therapies. And they've been remarkable for patients. And we found that we can get people back to their sport and their activity quicker. So, and it's been very helpful, and I look at, and yes, the ibuprofen, Motrin, and Advil, they're great and they do great work, but they're taking away the inflammation and allowing you to perform, but they're not doing anything to regenerate the injury or heal that injury.
Regenerate.
Yeah. And then
that
you
makes
get
sense.
into,
what about white space? Like, what about your Sorry, I'm talking the
No.
recording. I'm sure that Ben will help us fix this, but I'm talking over you. I'm sorry about that. The white space. Like, what do you ever recommend when you're talking about recovery, right? In those spaces, or just
Mm-hmm.
like reducing how much we're doing? Like, is there, and this can get into like what alignment of goals, where you're at, but like where as parents do we say, okay, like, or even in our own lives, like, woo, maybe this is an invitation to like take some things away from the schedule or from the doing in the overworking of our body. Yeah. What are your thoughts on
Yeah, I
that?
mean, sure. It's great questions. So, I never want to tell a parent, well, don't allow them to play two-sport athlete, three-sport athlete. I
Mm-hmm.
have my daughter, she's a three-sport athlete and she loves it and she does a great job managing it. And I never want to tell another
Mm-hmm.
kid or another parent to say, don't do that. Just focus on one sport. Now, when they get a little bit
Yeah.
older and maybe they're in high school or college and they may not be able to play those three sports. There are certain kids that can do it, but I can tell you probably
Mm-hmm.
95 to 99% of kids in the collegiate level cannot play more than one sport because they
Right.
put different torques in your body. But, when a kid's in high
Yeah.
school or kids in youth, I say, you can play a sport, but there shouldn't be, I don't want you going from your soccer game to your afternoon baseball game and then you have to go work out or then you're going to go to lacrosse that night because you have to
Yeah.
play that lacrosse. That's a lot and that's too much, and you
Yeah.
need a balance. And so you may have to take one of those away.
Yeah.
And to talk to parents and have them understand like what they're going to miss. The coach needs them there. No, the coach
Yeah.
wants them there. The coach doesn't need them there. You need to
Yeah.
understand that for your child to be able to build their muscle and help them so they don't have an injury, they need a balance. Their muscles
I
get
was going to ask
tired.
you that about
Yeah.
overuse.
Yeah, their
Yeah.
muscles
What
get
are your
tired.
thoughts on that? Just, yeah. Yeah. The muscles get tired and then just the demand on the body. I when I was talking to Rebecca, who's a registered dietitian too, she talks
Mhm.
about just like that's a really growing bodies also need so much fuel, so it becomes
Yeah.
this like kind of chase too when you're doing that many things. But on the physical body, from a development standpoint, we like the overuse. Like, what do you can read lots in like clips about overuse injuries and the rise. I attended the Female Athlete Conference in Boston. I don't know. Do you ever go to that one
Oh
that's
yeah,
put on by Boston
it's great.
Children's?
Hmm.
Yeah, and so aware like of trends, if you will. What are your thoughts on like what do we need to know as parents? Like, it's real, right? It's not just
No, it's certainly.
a headline on Facebook that we see of watching. Yeah.
Well, you look at and I always tell people, I said, well, look at yourself first. Instead of looking at what your
Mm-hmm.
child needs to do or what they need to do, ask yourself, could you go out and run 5 miles? And then I'm going to ask you to go play pickleball. And then we're going to go play a little,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to go run up and down the field to play a little soccer. They're going to look at you and be like, you're crazy. I
Mm-hmm.
would never do that. I'm like, why? Like, I'm going to be sore. Yes, exactly. So for a child to play an hour of soccer and then go play lacrosse for 2 hours and then go play another basketball game or do something else later on, that's too much. And what happens that not only does and it's two, and you and I kind of know this, it's two pillars. It's mental and it's physical.
Yeah.
How much focus mentally are you going to have to be able to understand what your body needs to do, right? You're not going to play 100%. You're not going to play even probably 80%. All you're thinking about is how do I go through the motions of playing and get through this? Your body gets fatigued.
Right.
Notably with females, and I think that's why females get injured more than males, especially with their knees, is that they're more quad dominant than they are their hamstrings. So if they're out running or they're playing other sports, their muscles get fatigued in their quads. They don't have the hamstrings to take over. They go to the field and they go do something, playing lacrosse or soccer or another sport. They go turn because their muscles are fatigued. And this is widely known of fatigue control syndrome, is that they'll turn or they'll pivot and they'll injure their knee. And that's kind of what our focus is how do we get them stronger, in their quadriceps and their hamstrings. So when they're playing an hour or and a half game, that at the end of that game, they're not tired or they'll injure their knee. One big example I always tell people
Yeah.
is skiers, right? I always ask, somebody comes into my office and I ask the patient, I say, was it your last ski run that you injured your knee on? And they said, yes. How'd you know? And I said,
Oh, well,
the end of the day, you are completely
tired.
fatigued. You're tired. You're trying to, you look over and you say, last run, we're going to go for it. And what do? You pick the best run you want to go down. You go down as fast as you can and you
Double
turn.
diamonds.
And by the time you're halfway down, your legs are just screaming and burning, right? And then all of a sudden you take one turn and then boom,
Yeah.
that's it. And that's similar to these kids that are on the field. And that's, if you're overdoing it, these kids get injured, and that's
Yeah.
what happens. But then I look back and say, okay, well, could you play, pickleball in the morning and then pickleball at night? Or could you play golf in the morning and go play pickleball or then go for a run later on? No, I couldn't do that. Well, then let's manage your child a little bit better so, they can be better physically and mentally. And that's where it comes into the recovery. Yeah.
Well, and that also segues straight into the space of like the why behind this podcast in this community is because as parents, like what is actually like what's behind that? What are the intentions behind the multiple sports? Is there some percolating fear of feeling like we're going to get left behind or we're going to miss the window and then putting that down, turning toward it, right? So kind of pausing and getting curious about why are we running from here to there, and is there intention behind it, or are we doing it out of some sort of fear, and being able to put that to rest. Yeah. So I could talk to you forever. Clearly, I'm looking at our time, and I honor your time. And what would you say? We'll kind of pull this together. What would you say to parents that are listening with all your hats? So a sports dad, and you, and I don't know if intentionally or not, but your daughter, the one that's already in college, is extremely accomplished, and her team is too. You don't need to speak to that if you don't feel comfortable. But high level, like raising kids that have reached a very high level of sport and are competing now, and more your twins going off to college. This perspective that you've gained as a sports dad, as a coach, as a professional in the space, and also, right, just as a human being kind of witnessing and now stepping into this regenerative, what are we getting right as parents? Where are we missing? Like, what would you say to us? I know it's really general, but what would we, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I think,
can we,
I think that, these kids and these athletes, as I see my own daughter, she's at Boston College and she's playing lacrosse, and her team has been extremely amazing. And all the kids and all the parents are amazing. Their coaching staff is second to none, and their ancillary staff has been amazing. And what they've been able to accomplish, not only, as a team, but what they do for their players has been remarkable. And I haven't done a lot, once they're off and through high school and college, I haven't done any coaching. It's beyond me for coaching. It's beyond me to tell them what to do for running. And it's really up to a child and say, hey, listen, as a parent, here's what I can help you with. I'm still able to go out into the field and play catch with you if you want to do that. But you, as an athlete, as a student athlete, you still need to understand, what is in front of you, what your expectations are, what you want, what are your goals from this. If you want to be on the field, you need to do what they're asking you to do. If you need to be faster, you need to do this. If you need to be mentally stronger, you need to do this. I step back a little bit as a parent, with the assistance from, other people saying, just let them do what they need to do. They have coaches, they have the staff to tell them that they're okay. But be able to kind of understand and listen to, what these kids, need. I think a lot of parents come in and say, well, what can I do differently to get my child to be better?
That's it.
Yeah. And
you're nailing something. That is like, sorry, we did it again. I'm talking over that theme has been a thread through almost every conversation. Like, let them drive. So offering our assistance and letting our kids drive, letting them set their goals, and then having honest conversations too. Like, this is what your goal is, then these are the actions that are aligned, and letting them drive. Giving them the keys. And Yeah.
Yeah, and I
So important.
tell all my kids, I said, listen, I'll still go play catch with you. I'll still do things with you.
Hmm.
I'll bring you to, the programs that you need to do. I'll provide, the money that you need to go do your recovery for. I'll help you do all these things,
Hmm.
but you need to do that. You need to go and carve out that time for that. I will be
Hmm.
your manager and help you with it, but
Supporter.
I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
bring you
Yeah.
to it. I can't tell you that you need to get up at 6 in the morning. I can't tell you that you need to,
Yes.
do your workout at nighttime. You have to do that,
Hmm.
but it takes a little bit kind of in the looking over the shoulder of your child to say, hey, just a little bit of a nudge you want to do,
Hmm.
because once they start feeling the pressure
I call it
from the
mirroring.
parents, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think once they start
Yeah.
feeling the pressure from the parents, they may push back a little bit and say, I did it, or, I know what I'm doing, or
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. So,
That's totally, that's appropriate though. That's
yeah,
developmentally appropriate resistance. Yeah.
yeah,
If someone says don't do something, what do we want to do? Like go do it. Even
yeah,
us, like it's human nature.
yeah, absolutely.
So I love that. Yeah. So this idea of, okay, let's zoom way out and say there's a lot that we can do proactively to help our kids. And I think maybe even encouraging parents to re-listen to the podcast, but we're going to drop in the show notes links to find more information about especially what you're talking about. So I'll just offer the opportunity for you to share where people can find that more about you and the work that you're doing there. And then if you're in the New England area, I know like there's people that aren't just in Massachusetts that see you, that
Yep,
come down and work with you, if they need you in Dr.
yep.
Gill, for support. But yeah, where can people find you and learn more? And we'll have to have a part two, which we
Yes,
need to
absolutely.
just
There's a lot to
wrap this one
unpack.
up. Yeah. 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 So
So,
yeah, so share with us where people can find you and then I'll make sure that we drop it in the notes.
yep. So I'm located with Dr. Gill. Our
Mhm.
office is called Boston Sports Medicine and Research Institute, and we're located in our office, which is 40 Allied Drive in Dedham. In line with that,
Mhm.
I also provide my regenerative medicine program, which is called Boston Orthopedics and Wellness, and that is also
Mhm.
within that center as well. However, I always tell parents, I said, I have the access to these programs that you can bring your child to go work out, to the athletic
Yeah.
trainers, to the programs, to the strength coaches, to the nutritionist, as you do as well, to the physical therapist.
Yeah.
So we have the access, we have the ability to get people where they need to be, and also the information to help parents navigate this. It's a very difficult
Yeah.
situation for parents to navigate. And I think they all will
Mhm.
agree they don't know that space. And for us to
Yeah.
say, well, this is what you need, and this is what I've seen has been proven and has worked, parents really
Yeah.
value that information. And so we're
Yeah.
able to provide that. And I'm
We
happy to
need to
speak
get
to
you on.
any parent at any
Yeah.
time for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being able to promote and share your work. And do you have a website up for the new venture do you have a space that people can find you?
I do. It's Boston Orthopedics and Wellness.com.
Oh, amazing. Okay, we'll link that too.
Mhm.
Brian, thank you so much for this, for your time, for just who you are in the world, how you show up, what you're doing for families, like through, like I think back to my own injury and that experience, like the one of the darkest times, right? It was
Mhm.
one of the hardest times. And like you've said, and like you paint that picture for families, it can also
Yeah.
be a springboard for growth on the other side where you come out so much stronger. So thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you. This has been amazing. And as always, I value everything you have done for myself, for my children, for my athletes, my patients. I couldn't navigate this side of this world without you. So I appreciate all you've done for everybody. Thank you.
I'm humbled. Thank you.